Hey guys, Fred Kynes, AKK Classics, all kinds of classics, here to talk a little bit about episode 28. Episode 28. It's raining, not outside. It's raining orders. That's good news. The cylinder heads came back from the machine shop, so I talk a little bit about those just briefly and what's going on with that stuff now that it's in. And the Mustang 2 front suspension came. So now I got to start mocking that up and getting that into the frame. Um, for those of you that have watched the prior videos, you can appreciate the fact that I jump around a little bit. These videos are being presented to you in serial fashion, day by day, video by video. So you can see that I like to bounce around a little bit, but I like to stay busy doing this, and this is very fun for me. So each gap gives me an opportunity to work on the small stuff, and when a load comes in, it gives me an opportunity to focus back on the big stuff. So enjoy the video, and let me know what you think about this one, and we'll go from there. Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, good news. Got the cylinder heads. They are redone. They put 8 seats in it. No, 10 seats. 10 intake and exhaust seats in, just to make sure everything was done right. You can see some of the new ones. They got them nice and flush with the cylinder head, which is really good. I also got my adapters that were blowing out, plasma cut out, and I started grinding on them. They were cut like that. I marked the gasket surface, and basically I'm using a die grinder to bring them out to the surface. And on this one, I just took 3 3/8 bolts, and then I'll match the ports now and finish this. Of course, I'll get the radius put on the other flange. I'm also going to punch. I punched 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. They should probably go front to back, but they'll be exactly matched to the ports. Since I am, matching them on the head, any minor differences will keep them unique to each other. Anyway, so that's what I'm working on today. Just picked those up yesterday. Good news on the chassis stuff. They're shipping the boxes today, and they're shipping the boxes today. The springs, the Viking coilover kits shipped yesterday. The discs, those are direct. The Vikings were direct from manufacturer. The discs direct from manufacturer, which appears, since they're coming speedy and the location from which they come, they're probably coming from Speedway. But I've used that stuff. I use that on my 37, so I'm getting those parts are on the way, so they should be here soon. Then I got a project for another guy again. It's bartering, right? It's bartering. The guy that's welding up a bunch of stuff for me is got me as a 4-wheeler, and on the 4-wheeler, I just have to some new ball joints, some new tie rods. He got 2 sets of ball joints. Don't know why, but regardless, that's the way the deals work, right? I do stuff for him, he does stuff for me. So he bought those parts, brought that in, we exchange labor. And on that note, I did coat this. This is the finished look. You can see it looks, you can see the TIG, which is perfectly fine. But I'm trying to get rid of the shiny look. It's a textured kind of iron look, and so that's that. And the intake manifold, just waiting till I get a full cure on this enamel. I'm blocking it down. I might block it all the way down. I don't know, but I'm continuing to block. Now these shadow lines right here are where I welded the pan right there on the bottom side for the oil fill. But I stayed in, and my perimeter is fine for sealing. Again, this is a gasket seal, so gaskets are what, 40, 50 thousandths thick. I'm not worried at all about leaks for that, but thinking I'll go with either an Allen or a Torx cap on here, and it'll be the same color as the thermostat housing, which goes on right there. So it's coming together. I don't know what I'm going to do in here. I do have a lead on some epoxy that I can do something with that with, but I may just see if it shadows with the paint too. Don't know yet. So more on that later. I'm just keeping on blocking away on it. Right now I'm using a dry sanding sponge and blocking. And eventually I'll probably go to wet, on some 400 or something like that and block it. But I'm almost thinking with the cut throughs and stuff, I'll just keep blocking, because if I get it down to a good substrate, I get the best adhesion. I'm a little concerned about the layers. I'm not overly concerned about the layers. There's 4 or 5 coats on there, when you consider the black and the red, maybe even 6. I think I did 3 each, yeah, so 6 coats. Obviously, I've peeled off at least one of the red, but I want to get her down, and before I put the final coat on it, I'll need to prime it first, and then hit it with that so that I got a good coloration. So I'll probably prime it in a gray or even silver. I don't know, or as close to silver as possible, so that I can put the match to the thermostat housing. So thanks a lot.
It's another day. You know what the beauty is? Today is Friday. So, just open up the holes. You can see the presence of the magic marker still all the way around each of the openings. And basically what I did is I took this grinder and just kept on both of those until I was touching the magic marker, the interior diameter of the magic marker. And then I came in and cut it down to the point where I have less than 1/8 of an inch on the bottom side of the plate. Okay, so just cleaned it up, made the transition, got it all roughed in. Okay, so now we match well, that's a bad example. This one's bolted through and ready for final stage. So now this one, you can see the magic marker right here. So now what I will do is I will make the transition from the port, smooth it out, and open it up and just blend it. So this is bolted on in 3 spots, and then I will blend that port out to the outside diameter. So I'll start into my final work of just finishing up the port polishing through this. Then that gasket goes on, then the headers go on, and I have no leaks. Also, that stack is the Viking shocks. Well, that stack is the Viking shocks for the front and rear. Those 2 are springs for the front or rear. I don't know. Figure that out later. Just came in, and getting ready to make the gas tank. Cut the profile. Made a wireframe. Cut the profile. Achieved my, 14, just under 14 and a half gallons. Created a DXF file, or a drawing file, an AutoCAD drawing file. Sent that over to my son, who is works in a fab shop, and he's going to get me a quote on them rolling it, or bedding it up, and then I would of course do the final work. So it'll have two baffles, and then of course the two outside ends, and unfortunately like 14 and a third, something like that, gallons of capacity. The factory one was also 14 gallons right there. It was an egg, or an oval. But I want to run the fuel pump. I want to put the sending unit and the pickups for the fuel and return for the fuel in locations that I prefer, that are advantageous for this design. So I'll build a custom tank. That's what's going on. That's the funness begins, because I looked at the delivery schedules, and apparently by 1, 2, 3 days from today, piles and piles of stuff will be showing up. So very, very soon, this frame, well, for you guys, in a few videos, this frame will start to get assembled. Well, I got this done. Finally, this was masked off. That was the routed out piece. I got this kind of setting where it will be setting for the thermostat housing. It's a textured, gray. You can see the texture, but also the fact that it's got a little bit of coloration in it. So I did not, I removed everything, cleaned everything back down to the metal, but then I cleaned up all these and decided I'd go with the shadow line effect instead of a separate color. Now, of course, the coolant lines are going to come out and go up to the cylinder heads, and the intake manifolds are going to be sitting on top of here. But as you look down through the runners and that, and of course this will be the back, a runner will come in this area, but you'll be able to see how that looks sitting on the block, looking through the runners and all that. You'll say, hey, what is that? It's a 331 Hemi. Anyway, I think it's kind of neat. It took way too much time and energy to get it completed, and quite a bit of rework because of the amount of issues that I had with straightening out the letters and cleaning them up. Now this is paint, not powder coat in this case, because I did have to clean up these and do a little, if you want to call it, body work on the letters to try to get them straightened out. Of course, it's just the valley cover, so you're going to see maybe 220 degrees, something of that nature at the highest, unless I'm overheating it. But in conductive heat, unlikely that it'll ever really actually get to that temperature. But I think it looks pretty. I think it's going to work well, and I'm putting it away now for the final build. The other thing is, look what came in. It came in yesterday. That's the cross member. Spring purchase. Rear links, bolt kit, rear coilover mounts, coils, of course the shocks. Those are the spindles. Disc brake calipers, rack and pinion,
all the control arms and pieces for the front end. The rear differential is expected to be in here. The diff, the pumpkin, 5 more boxes are expected to be here today. Today is Saturday, so my intentions are to start to mock this up and get going on it. Alrighty. Now I gotta take this and this and put it on there. So, to start with, I've got my center line, but of course now I'm starting all over. I'm going to establish 2 points off of the rear suspension, bring those up in an X. I've done all this already before I clean it all up, but just want, for the sake of verification, I'm going to start all over again and raise 2 points in the back off of the center line of the back. Bring those forward, X them out, find the center line. This is it right here, but I'm going to verify it. That's it right there. But I'm going to verify it on this side before I start plopping this guy in. Okay? That's the game. That's the game. I wish I had a way to do, so I'm doing this all on my cell phone, and I could probably set it up on the tripod and leave it run, but I'm just learning how to edit these videos and get this thing going. Over time, I'm sure I will get better at this. I think I need different hardware. I just haven't done the research. This is all relatively new to me, this process. But I'm excited about it. I want to keep this as an heirloom, as a time sake for what I did for this build. I've done enough of these without capturing anything other than basic photographs and every once in a while a video. This one I want to capture all the way through and share it. So, starting today on the chassis. Okay. A lot of measuring, a lot of checking. And now he's in. I made reference lines, measured, started at the back, and established a reference point to make sure that my wheelbase is consistent. I validated the wheel center line for the rear. Began with that. It came up to key locations on the frame by verifying side to side keyholes that were copied across. If I saw a discrepancy, I went to a different hole, that kind of thing, and just made sure I went through the whole thing to assure that the wheelbase would be right and there'd be no dog tracking. You know, that this was perfectly parallel with the rear suspension. Dropped it in, marked my center line of the cross member with relative to the center line of the front axle per the drawing. I made a couple of reference marks from my original lines back a distance, in this case 25 and 3/16, and the only reason why it's 25 and 3/16 is because this is bolted to the chassis where the mounts are for the cab, for the braces that go on here. And so I just took a measurement off of one side to the center line on the front of the frame before I put the cross member on. And I checked on the other side, and it turns out that it was actually within a 32nd of an inch. So it was less than a 32nd of an inch, more closer to 60 thou, or not 60 thou, a 64th. So check. I've got a ruler that gives me gradations down to
a 32nd, and I was between. So I did that. I copied that. And I'm using the Sharpie, and people can argue that's going to skew it rather than scratching a line. Indeed, it can. But the process to scratch a line and use a Sharpie is relative to your use of the Sharpie. So, for example, I only use the backside of a Sharpie line, and when I register that line, I register it as the side of the straight edge that I use to draw it. So, all of the lines on here, the straight edge was put on up this way with the line drawn against it. And so that I only use the back side of that line, the back side of these marks for every measurement. So even though the thickness of the Sharpie can change, the degree of accuracy remains consistent because I identify with every mark that I make when I go to strike that line the same. So I know I'm there. I know I'm dead on, and I know that I'm still going to have a wheel alignment, but I know that I'm not going to dog track, all those kinds of things. So that's the most critical component as far as I'm concerned. The spring purchase and upper control arm mounts go on next. So we'll get to that.
Well, it's been a pretty good day. I got the shock mounts and upper control arm mounts, what we can officially call as this piece, tacked in. You can see, I got this up against the side, a little bit of a gap, but that level of detail came from the guy that took the dimensions from me and drafted it and cut it up. So it actually turned out quite good. I got it at the ride height right now, just for the sake of getting it mocked up, because I want to check the camber or the kingpin inclination and the caster, I guess, is where I'm headed. I want to get that kind of dialed in and make sure that's same side to side with relative adjustability on here. I want to know where each one of these are. But the bolt kit did not come. I sent them an email, but the bolt kit didn't come, so I got to wait on that at this point. But once I get that in and get that checked out, then I will proceed on welding it up. I mounted the rack just to look at clearance and see how close I'm coming to the side here, and real nice. I'll miss it with the universal joint. I just got the nuts started on it, but it's really coming along. It's gonna be a pretty slick setup when it's all done. So I'm happy with it so far. So far, it's going together good. It's meeting the print, and I'm happy with it. So we'll continue forging ahead as we can. But again, independent front suspension, Mustang 2 for the old 1930 Dodge, and we are in the phase of getting the suspension set up so that we can build the rolling chassis. Have a good one.
Hello again. What am I going to say? Had the rack on, measured the toe, and this is a 5/8 narrowed. So I screwed the tie rod ends all the way in, and I could just barely almost get it to toe straight ahead. It was towed out just a little bit. So I took 5/8 of an inch off of each end of the the rack threaded portion of the tie rod, screwed the tie rod ends back in, and got that completed. Checked caster, camber, kingpin angle, all that stuff. and wound up with the favorable results. So at this point, then I'm now into welding it up, and I'm starting on the top side because that's the direction it was. So I've got all this welded, all this welded around. I still have to do this side and this side, but I got both sides completely on the interior side of the frame completely done, ready for flip. On these Mustang 2s kits, all these kits, they come with this brace in here, and I know, you know, some engineer somewhere, whether he was an engineer or not, but they gusseted this because this tube sticks out for the singular tubular control arm, and I know there's not a lot of vertical force on the front suspension, but I think it's cleaner looking to have a bracket coming out on the top. So I made a couple of brackets to push on the top, made sure they were clearanced for the mounting for my sway bar. So everything at this point works. It adds a little strength, vertical strength to it, and I'm happy with it. So at this point, then I'll do these couple of down welds. Might come in here and do them on both sides of this, more than likely both sides of this, because that keeps the Fred feeling happy. You know, this is under stress here because this is the spring, so I think I'll encapsulate that. And really, other than that, that's where I'm at, getting ready to flip them over. There we go. Flipped over. I pulled the tall stands out from underneath, and because the time is right. So got everything welded up here, across there, inside and outside. Same with here, inside and outside. The rack mounts came, you know, assembled, TIG welded to it, but I went in and cleaned those up too. I wanted to get them welded. So everything now is done. There's the braces that I put on right here. And I only want to weld one side because I don't want to pull on this at all. I did test it with a bolt. No drag, nothing. I just don't want to get a pile of heat, and I don't want to weld it here because it gets pretty close to the bracket for the sway bar mount. So, but again, that's in mostly in compression. Yeah, mostly in compression, other than the weight of the spindles in the event that the car leaves the ground. So good. I wrapped in everywhere I could wrap. Everywhere. I got welded on the top side of the frame when I had it flipped over. Everywhere I could reach, I did two sides, just because. I did grind. Now this was all TIG welded, and I'm more of a MIG welder than a TIG welder, but boy, you know, this is my frame where I welded and ground. There's not totally satisfied with that. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might just fill it and get it straightened out a little bit. But that's all part of finish. Right now I need to flip the frame over, bolt the transmission to the engine, and start locating engine mounts and transmission mounts. So that's the next game. God, I'm so happy.